Yeah, the problem with Jack's table is that this number, for example, 10, do I put it here or do I put it here? Because it's included in both and it's unsuitable because there is overlap between groups. If you do a sort of a survey or this kind of thing, you must make sure there's no gaps and there's no overlap. Part B, histogram. So a histogram has frequency density against time. Frequency density is calculated by finding the frequency and dividing it by the width of your column. So this one here, to get the frequency density of 1, it will be the frequency divided by 10. And why do you have to do this? Because we're using different widths all over the place. And if you don't divide by the width, then the wider the kind of the bar, the more frequency you're getting, and it could look like it wouldn't be representative as on the diagram, because this one up here with the frequency might be much higher, and it might look like you got lots of results, but it's just because you've got a really wide um, wide catchment area as such. So that's why we use histograms. That's just a bit of information on that. Here we've actually got the histogram. We're trying to show that 70 students took between 45 and 70 minutes. And to work this out, we just rearrange this equation to get that the frequency is the frequency density times the width. And actually that is the area of these bars. So I want to calculate this area and this area because that's everyone between 45 and 70. So to work out this one, it's going to be 6 times 5, which is 30. And this one is going to be 2 times 20, that's the width, which is 40. And I can see that I can just add these up, and that gives me 70 sorted. Calculate an estimate for the mean taken to complete the race. Show you're working. Well, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. Typically, to work out the mean from essentially a group of something, we would use a grouped frequency table. So I'm just going to bring that back in to help remind us how to deal with this. It's going to be 30 to 40, 40 to 45, 45 to 50, and then 50 to 70. And then we've got the frequency. Now we've worked out the frequency of the last one, it was 40. We've worked out the frequency of the second to last one, it was 30. So we're going to need the other two as well. We're going to need to do 4 times 5 here, which is 20. And then the first one is just 1 times 10, which gives us 10. And we've got 100 in total. How do we then work out an estimate for the mean time? Well, we use the midpoint. So it's going to be the midpoint times the frequency, and this is going to be 35 times 10. This one is going to be 42.5. I do not like this. This is a non-calculator question. You're going to have to work out these decimals. It's going to take a fair bit of time. And this one's going to become 47.5 times 30. And finally, this one's not so bad, 60 times 40. Now, if we'd realized, like I brought it back to grouped frequency, but actually you didn't need to draw this table. You could have just done, you'd have to work out these. Absolutely can't get away with that. But then you could just look at the midpoints here, 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 and here, and you could have just multiplied those together. So you could have gone to this much quicker than I did, but I'm trying to explain where it's come from and how it links to, if you've never sort of done this for a histogram before, how it links to it. Okay, so we can work these out. So I'm going to get 350 If I times by 10, I get 425. If I double it, I'm going to get 850. If I times this by 10, I get 475. I'm going to then need to times that by 3. So I'm going to do this a written method for this. 5, carry the 1, 21, plus 1 is 22, carry the 2, 12, 14. And then finally 2,400. Okay. Going to need to add these up. 5, 12, so carry the 1. 11 plus 8 is 19, 20, carry the 2. 1 plus 2, 3, 5. So that's our total time. We're not actually quite finished because I then need to divide that by the frequency. So what is that number? That is essentially, what have we done? We've used the midpoints to represent each group as a single number. We said like some will be less than 35, some will be more than 35. Let's use 35 as an average kind of thing. There's 10 of them, so that's why I've multiplied it to give 350. I've done the same for all the other groups. That's basically means I've added all my x values up as an estimate. But if I want the average, I then need to divide by the total amount of numbers, which is this, adding up all my frequencies. That's going to be 100. So finally, I do this, and it's going to be 50.25. Now I'd be quite tempted to write just 50 for this, because it's only an estimate. There's so many errors involved, but I have written down my exact answer, which is important. Anyway, that's how you can do this question.